Is this thing on? Welcome everyone, this is Franco.
I'm Johan.
And we just finished watching The Conjuring Part 2. We're going to go into not too much detail at first. We're going to give you a brief synopsis of it. And then from there, we're going to go balls to the wall with the spoilers. But don't worry, we're going to give you full-on warning before that. So, quick synopsis. It's obviously a sequel to Conjuring Part 1 where you have the Warrens, which is a couple of, what are they, paranormal investigators, you can say?
Yeah, they seek out the truth.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And they hear about the story of this girl. She gets possessed by some entity. And happens in London, England. So they go overseas and see what happens at the request of the church. So without obviously getting into any spoilers, basically, I thought it was a really good horror movie. I hadn't seen a good horror movie in a while. What did you think about it?
They actually did a really good job. So they have like Mulder and Scully.
That type of deal. Yeah.
No, it's pretty cool. So they did a good job. It's just, you know how the movie's going to end because if you watch the first one, but it's basically the telling of their stories of the things that they've seen throughout their lives and stuff like that. So in this one, it takes place
it's a particular case. Yeah, and so basically, the special effects weren't there. Wasn't that many special effects that I could say.
Well, I mean, they did have quite a bit of CG, but it wasn't like terrible.
Yeah,
and then they had like practical effects. That's what I really like when they use that. It's with any horror movie, it's going to rely on the loud noises,
and the jump scares. Yeah. I like that at first I was a little worried because there was a lot of jump scares, and it was sort of like at one point I personally expected them on certain points, but then they got a little more creative with it, and they surprised me a lot, and a lot of people at the theater jumped up. But yeah,
they made it flow really well. So
yes.
And it ended up working. What they were doing, whatever formula they had, it worked. It made the movie actually scary.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much about like the gore, because this movie wasn't gory. It's rated R for some reason. We were actually having this discussion as to why we would have a rated R. It doesn't have any like foul language. It wasn't gory at all.
It depends, because the phrase "bloody hell" was used, and I'm pretty sure in England.
Yeah, but that's not like I'm pretty like they said that in like Harry Potter, and that was like PG. So I doubt that's the reason. The official rating says it's thematic violence or horror violence.
We'll get into that theory later, though, as to why it was rated R.
Yeah, it was very moody, and so, I mean, it was weird that we saw kids there. I honestly, in my opinion, they didn't need to be there.
Don't take the kids.
Don't take the kids.
It is scary.
It's a rough movie.
You said started crying.
The kid behind us started crying. It's a rough movie, regardless of what we think of the rating. It is a rough movie. So, just summing up the non-spoiler review, I thought it was a really good movie, definitely worth watching, especially in the theater. You get that vibe that you can't get at home.
Well, it depends. If you have a really nice surround sound, then you can get that vibe at home. But definitely, I would recommend watching this movie in the theater because it just builds up with it being so dark, and if you're watching with other people, like watching their reactions and stuff when they jump when there's a scary scene, that's really good. So.
Yeah, and it's a lot more fun in like a crowd because you're not the only one jumping.
It's more interactive.
Right. It's also funny seeing the people in front of you jumping up and letting out a little.
You get to say at least you're not the only one jumping.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. With that being said, full on spoilers. In 3, 2, 1. All right, spoilers. Full on spoilers. You have been warned, so don't get pissed off at me if we spoil anything. Okay. First and foremost, that creepy ass nun, man.
So a lot of it was foreshadowing, but that nun, like whatever. They did a great job with the makeup and like throughout the rest of the movie, it's really good. I just love how they had that nun in the movie. So
yeah, and it's weird, like because the makeup, the way they did it, it's not sort of like because you have like Freddy Krueger, for example, and you have like this gory and like out of like weird like
weird skin, and then you can tell it's prosthetic.
And organic and gory type. This was zero gore to this chick. It was like this. She had like this otherworldly presence about her, and the way they carried it.
I think it had to do with the eyes a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, they're contacts, but just the color that they use and how it would just stand out.
Yeah,
it was really good. It made everything work well.
Yeah, and the way they presented her every single time is sort of like this weird foreboding, like very.
Like basically, you're gonna get it.
Yeah, whenever she pops up, you're in for not a good time. And then you have on the flip side, you have the old man. The old man is kind of the whole purpose of the thing possessing the little girl in the movie, or so you're led to believe. But the old man, at first, he was like really creepy, and like hearing his voice through the girl's mouth. That was, freaky as hell. And sort of like calling back to The Exorcist. Like the way they did the movie had like a very big Exorcist type feel to
Possession?
it. Well, yeah, but like, because you've had like for example, movies like the whatchamacallit, the Emily Rose. What was that? The Possession of Emily Rose or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, that one, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. That's what it's called. So that movie, it was obviously possession and stuff, but it didn't have like that weird like dread that you get from, let's say, for The Exorcist. The Exorcist, came out in the 70s, and that shit still freaks me the hell out. And I got sort of like not as much as The Exorcist, but freaking close, and it doesn't help that in the beginning they have that whole based on a true story.
When they say based on a true story,
it was probably there was a family in London who saw some shit, and then they built this whole thing around it. Yeah. So the wind blew a door closed, and then a bunch of exorcism.
But whatever really happened, in the movie, since it's based on a true story, if all that really did happen, then the way they filmed it, the way the story progressed, it was good. Yeah,
and it didn't seem that over the top as far as other horror movies that just take shit too far. And but this one had just the right amount. And again with the old man and the nun, those were like the main baddies and the sense of creepiness. And what was up with the freaking dentures and the biting, man? Is that a thing that old people do?
When they don't get their way, they bite.
They start randomly biting. Yeah, so if you haven't seen the movie and you're still interested in,
we've already warned them.
We've already warned them, so yeah. So then the girl at one point gets bitten on the shoulder.
Yeah, and then neck, between the shoulder and the neck.
It's funny because the old man is missing teeth, so the bite mark is like incomplete. Yeah. So the same thing with like the mom. The mom gets bit. He's just randomly biting people. That's what I'm like starting to question. Am I gonna start biting people when I get old? Is that a thing?
When you get old and senile, yes, you will.
Do you start randomly biting people? Comment below if you randomly bite people or not. Let me know. But or not. Yeah, but please don't bite people after you see this movie. It's weird. But so long story short, I honestly, like I said before, definitely recommend watching the movie. Especially if you're a fan of the first one, or if you haven't seen the first one, I definitely suggest watching the first one and then watching this one. It's it's an independent story, but you get
you don't have to watch the first one, but you'll appreciate it. So you'll watch the first one and then watch the second one, because there's a scene in the movie where the husband, he has this room that has different artifacts in it, and if you've seen the first Conjuring and if you've seen Annabelle as well, you'll see those artifacts again. So you'll appreciate the little things that they do in this movie. Yeah, and then it's this whole the history. You appreciate the history more, and the first one wasn't bad at all. It was honestly, I liked the first one. So So thanks everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe, and let us know if you saw The Conjuring 1 or 2, and if you liked it, comment below. And on that note, we're out of here.